Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, and this is your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today on the line with us again is Rohit Srivastava. He's the Chief Investment Officer and Portfolio Manager with Saroj and Bhanu Fund. He has an artificial intelligence-based algorithm with predictive analytics. So today we're going to talk about some technical analysis, with specifically diving into ABBV. So with that, Rohit, take it away.
Thanks, Josh. First, the same disclosure that this is all for entertainment and no professional advice is given here. Learning and entertainment is the goal here. The index which we created equally weighted, and we'll modify this a little bit, make it more realistic next time. This one we just created initially to have equally weighted, but we will be creating a very custom which will be based on the market cap. This was the index state 2 months ago, about 2+ months ago. This is what it was last week, where we were seeing that it could be a reversal. And this week it is still testing the same point. It is still at the same point trying to test. It fell down, and I think the biggest reason why this cannabis index fell is a bunch of cannabis ones had a bigger losses this week. But it is still testing. It has still not failed at that, so it is still testing that. Like we said, this is testing the third time on the same point. From the cash in and outflow perspective, this where we were 2+ months ago. This was last week where we saw like a breakout of the pattern, and it crossed the $0 where we were talking about cautiously investing, and it did revert back a little bit, but it is still around the zero-ish. In the zero-ish point. So I would still be saying that it's probably a buy cautiously, not like putting all your money in there, but cautiously buying in there if anybody is trying to buy that into that index. And like any investment, when there is a huge positive side, we should be expecting a little bit of fall. Like you're seeing here, that there is this huge from a negative 140-ish to a 0, that's a huge runway. So that's probably a little bit of fall here is expected to see. From the short-term buying, this was more from a long-term, but from short-term buying, this were where last week we had bunch of sales, and this week we had one sale, which is a GWPH. Now it fell, coincidentally, it fell pretty bad after that. It like fell about like 20% after that, and there were a bunch of red signals before that. It was pointing, and I want to point it out, and this is not a coincidence. I want to point out the one of the matrix which this particular tool carries is called RAVI, R-A-V-I, and it does a combination of with 7 and 65-day, 7-day moving average with 65-day exponential moving average. And you can see that during this time, like you can see here, during this time, there is this weird patch of no movement. That is the point of sell. So any point between here could have been the selling point. And that's when this particular point where it's actually meeting the, it tried to rebound from the 13-day moving average, and it failed. This was the selling point, any of these 3 days. And that is what the tool did, is it actually sold on 11.5 at $13.47. Now, there has not been any buy this week. There has been some alerts on some of these stocks, but most of them, they have been pretty idle this week. Now, having said that, I want to give a little bit of update about ABBV. Now, ABBV, it had like an awesome run. You can see that it had an awesome run from this 8.4 point of view, and our product bought it at 8.20, which after a little bit of confirmation there. But it is at a point where it is ready to do the golden intersection, the 50-day and the 200-day intersection. That's what's happening. Now, usually, historically, what happens is that it is a bullish signal. 50-day, 200 is a bullish signal, like any stock. You think most of the time it's bullish. But what usually happens is that there is a correction, usually after this intersection happens. So if I would be like a short-term investor, I would be taking profits and expect it to correct a little bit before it settled down and all these buyers get back into that. So wanted to alert you that, and with you take any of them. Let me just take ABBV itself. And when I say that, that it's basically a correction that happens, here's an example of the correction. So here the correction is going to happen. Let's move back to a point where here there's an intersection happening, but it's on the reverse side, and there's a correction happening here. And here we go back to here, there is an intersection happening, and then the correction happens on this side. You can see that correction happening right here on that. So coming back to this, where we are ready to get intersection, and we should be seeing a correction happening up to about $59 to $81. And right now it's at like about $85. So we should be seeing a 5 to 8% of correction in there. So in summary, it's still holding the support for long term. Sold GWBH, and for short term investor, I would say that we should be taking some profit at this point for ABBV, and that's what we have right now.
What are the likelihood that it goes sideways the next 2 months like it did between the entire month of May and June? Those 2 months, the market just moves sideways through small movements. So between 475 and that $5 price point, what's the likelihood of seeing that just kind of move sideways until the end of the year?
Yeah, very, very high likely that that's what's going to happen for some time to before it jumps again. I think the likelihood, in my view, is very high, because one of the reasons what I feel is that this is about almost 2 months of time period where it's hanging in at that support. So it is a very strong support, and I think from various reasons, from Fibonacci and from the buying and selling point of view, I think this range is a very strong support. So I think the high chances that it will probably keep fluctuating between these 2 points before it kicks off again next year.
Awesome. I appreciate another week in weed review. Your crystal ball predictions for entertainment purposes only. Rohit Srivastava, Chief Investment Officer and Portfolio Manager with Saroj and Bhanu Fund. Appreciate the technical analysis. Until next week, we'll see you then.
Thanks.
Thank you. So with that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is The Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out.